Have you ever wondered why some encounters feel like they rearrange something inside you, quietly, invisibly, yet completely? As if, for a brief moment, you weren't meeting a person, but a reflection of something ancient, something you've always known but somehow forgot. Not a soulmate in the romantic sense, not destiny in a fairy tale tone, but a deeper recognition, the meeting of two souls who have awakened to who they truly are. Most people move through life searching for someone to fill a void they can't name. They call it love, connection, partnership, yet beneath it all, there is a quiet hunger, a spiritual emptiness looking for a place to land. But what happens when two people who are not hungry meet? Two beings who are already whole, already rooted, already resting in their own inner truth. There is a moment, subtle, electric, impossible to describe, when awakened souls cross paths. It feels like silence widening around you, like time inhales, like the universe takes a step closer, wanting to listen. There is no grasping, no reaching, no hidden craving, only recognition, a soft, "Oh, it's you." And this tiny recognition changes everything, because when you no longer seek completion outside yourself, the presence of another awakened human becomes something else entirely, not a refuge from loneliness, but a mirror of your own vastness. Not a promise of safety, but an invitation to explore consciousness in a way you never imagined. Their eyes don't pull you in, they open you. Their presence doesn't fill a gap, it awakens a truth. In this chapter, we begin a journey into the rare, almost sacred phenomenon of what truly happens when two awakened souls meet. A meeting where need dissolves, masks fall away, and something ancient remembers itself. But before we can understand this encounter, we need to talk about something most people avoid, the silent wound that shapes nearly every relationship we've ever known, and why it closes the door to the kind of connection your soul has been longing for. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet shiver just before something important happens, that sudden heaviness in the chest when someone enters the room, that dream so vivid, so strangely precise. It lingers in your mind for days, almost as if it wasn't a dream at all, but a message disguised as one. Most people spend their entire lives brushing these moments aside. It's nothing, just imagination. Coincidence. But the truth is, something inside you knows better. There are times when you wake up with a strange certainty you can't explain. You don't know why, but you feel that something in your life is about to shift. It could be a sudden calm in the middle of chaos, or the opposite, a quiet tension, as if your soul is holding its breath. These moments are rarely loud. They whisper, and yet they pull at you more deeply than anything you can logically justify. Maybe you've experienced this. You're going through a normal day, lost in your routines, when suddenly your body reacts before your mind can catch up. A chill runs through your arms. Your heart races without warning. Or a warmth spreads through your chest, as if someone just placed a gentle hand there. These sensations never come with explanations, but they always come with truth. Or perhaps it's in your relationships. You're talking to someone you barely know, and for a split second you feel exposed, not in a vulnerable or unsafe way, but in a way that feels like being recognized. It's unsettling, it's intimate, and yet you pretend nothing happened, because how do you explain a moment that speaks to your soul when no one else seems to hear it? Sometimes the signs come through silence. A sudden urge to withdraw, to sit alone in a room for no apparent reason. A strange clarity rising like a gentle tide, telling you to pay attention. A thought repeating itself in the back of your mind, not loud, not intrusive, but persistent. And other times, it comes through people. Someone you meet once, but can't forget. A stranger whose presence feels familiar in a way that makes no sense. A connection that feels like remembering instead of discovering. These experiences don't follow logic. They follow resonance. Most people feel them, but don't know what to call them. They only know that something feels different. Something feels true. Something feels like the surface of their life is being touched by something deeper, something they've been ignoring for years. This is where the quiet suffering begins. Because when you don't understand these signs, you start doubting yourself. You start thinking you're imagining things. You start believing that the deep sensitivity you feel is a flaw rather than a gift. But what if the dreams you brush off are actually fragments of your deeper consciousness trying to break through? What if those strange sensations in your body are signals from a part of you that sees more than your eyes do? What if the people who confuse you, attract you, or unsettle you are not random encounters, but mirrors placed in your path with purpose? There is a language beneath the surface of your life, a language you've been feeling for years without knowing how to interpret it. A language the mind ignores, but the soul remembers. And here lies the real mystery. Why do these signs intensify right before we encounter certain people? Why does your intuition sharpen when you're about to cross paths with someone who will shift your inner world? And why does your soul seem to whisper louder when the meeting ahead is not ordinary, but transformative? If you've ever felt these signs gathering around you, quietly, slowly, insistently, then there is a deeper question waiting for you, one that most people never dare to ask. What if? All these signals are guiding you toward a moment your consciousness has been preparing for long before you knew it existed. There is a spiritual sign that appears long before two awakened souls ever meet, long before the conversation, the eye contact, the recognition. It arrives quietly, like a shadow moving behind your thoughts. And yet, it is the most powerful indicator that your life is about to cross a threshold. This sign is not dramatic. It's not a vision, a miracle, or a supernatural event. It is the sudden dissolution of inner need, not apathy, not indifference, but a deep, almost serene realization that you no longer seek completion in someone else. Ancient spiritual teachers described this moment in different ways. In Taoist teachings, it was called the settling of the water. In Zen, the empty cup that is finally full. In early Christian mysticism, the heart returning to its original shape. In Vedanta, the recognition of the self as already whole. But here is the part no one explains. This shift doesn't happen because you convince yourself you don't need anyone. It happens because something in you awakens to a truth you can no longer unsee. One day you stop chasing, you stop gripping, you stop trying to force people to stay, understand, or validate your worth. Your heart becomes quieter but not colder. Your presence becomes gentler but not weaker. And without knowing why, you begin to stand inside your own life differently, as if you finally returned to the center of yourself. This is the first great sign, and the hidden meaning behind it is profound. When need dissolves, recognition becomes possible. Because until then, you're not seeing people, you're seeing projections, you're meeting expectations, fantasies, fears, hopes, wounds. You're meeting the parts of yourself that want rescuing. But when the need falls away, even if only for a moment, you start seeing reality as it is, rather than as your longing paints it. Awakened souls do not meet through the logic of the mind, nor through the hunger of the heart. They meet through resonance, a frequency that becomes audible only when there is enough quiet inside to hear it. Imagine two tuning forks. If one is trembling with need and insecurity, its sound is distorted. But when one becomes still, truly still, its vibration becomes pure. And a pure vibration can finally recognize another pure vibration. That recognition is the spiritual meeting point. You may have felt this before, a moment where someone looked at you and you felt seen, not for your roles, your efforts, or your masks, but for your being. A moment where you spoke, and the other person heard not only your words, but the silence behind them. A moment where you felt no urge to impress, no fear of judgment, no pressure to perform. It felt peaceful, strangely familiar, like meeting someone you never met but somehow always knew. This is the first secret. Awakened souls meet only when the inner hunger finally ends, because real recognition requires clarity, not emptiness, presence, not pursuit. This understanding goes against everything society teaches. We are raised to believe relationships come to us when we put ourselves out there, try harder, be more, improve, fix, search, hunt, chase. But ancient wisdom traditions always said the opposite. Meetings of truth happen when the mind stops searching, because when you no longer grasp for what you lack, you begin to attract from what you are. And this is why the dissolution of need is not a loss. It is a signal, a preparation, a clearing of space. The universe works with precision. It does not bring two awakened souls together when either one is still tangled in the illusion of incompleteness. Because two incomplete people will always seek to consume one another. Two awakened people, however, do something else entirely. They illuminate each other. This is the first spiritual sign, the quiet fullness that replaces longing. It is subtle, almost invisible from the outside. But inside, it feels like the soft unfurling of light within your chest, a warmth that isn't tied to anyone, a peace that doesn't come from circumstances, a strength that doesn't depend on external reassurance. You stop reaching out, not because you gave up, but because you finally return to yourself. This is the moment when the universe whispers, "You are ready." And yet this revelation opens a deeper mystery, because the dissolving of need is only the beginning. There is another sign, far more intense and far more transformative, that appears next, a sign that doesn't just prepare you for a meeting, but changes the way you love, the way you connect, and the way you experience another soul entirely. Before entrarmos nisso, se este conteúdo está despertando algo em você, lembre-se de curtir o vídeo e se inscrever no canal. Nossa comunidade é um círculo de conhecimento onde buscamos juntos compreender aquilo que o mundo raramente explica. And now, there is something far more powerful waiting to be revealed. I want to tell you a story, not to impress you, nor to create some mystical drama, but because it illustrates exactly what happens when an awakened encounter reshapes a life from the inside out. And maybe, as you hear it, a part of your own story will begin to reveal itself too. Years ago, before I understood anything about inner wholeness or conscious connection, I met someone in the most ordinary way possible. No spiritual retreat, no sacred setting, just a quiet cafe on a rainy afternoon, the kind of place where the sound of raindrops against the windows almost forces you into introspection. I remember the smell of coffee, nutty, warm, grounding. I remember the soft hum of conversations blending with the gentle percussion of the storm outside. And I remember feeling strangely calm, as if the world had pressed pause for a moment. I was sitting alone, absorbed in my thoughts, when a woman walked in and took the table opposite mine. Nothing unusual, no thunderbolt, no cosmic sign flashing in the sky. But the moment she sat down, something in the air shifted, subtle, quiet, undeniable. It wasn't attraction in the traditional sense. It wasn't curiosity. It was recognition. She looked up, and for a split second, our eyes met. And in that brief contact, I felt something I had never felt before. It wasn't excitement. It wasn't nervousness. It was peace, a stillness that sank deep into my chest, like my inner world had just aligned without effort. She wasn't trying to catch my attention. I wasn't trying to impress her. The moment simply was. And that was the beginning. We ended up exchanging a few words, small ones, simple ones. But what struck me wasn't what she said. It was how she existed. There was no tension around her, no performance, no undertone of seeking approval. Her presence felt like a quiet room just after the storm stops, fresh, open, unforced. As we talked, something unexpected happened. I didn't feel the usual impulse to edit myself. I didn't feel the pressure to sound interesting or intelligent. I didn't feel the heaviness of expectations hovering between us. I simply felt real. It was like she created a space where nothing needed to be defended. And in that space, things that had been buried inside me for years, fears, hopes, forgotten truths, rose to the surface without fear of being judged or misunderstood. Hours passed like minutes. At one point, we both fell silent. Not an uncomfortable silence, but a profoundly full one. A silence where you feel more connected than when you're speaking. It was in that silence I understood something. Awakened souls communicate in the space between words more than in the words themselves. But the most transformative moment came later, when we stepped outside. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still shimmering with reflections, golden streetlights rippling across puddles like little portals to another world. We walked slowly, not out of hesitation, but out of a mutual reverence for the moment unfolding between us. She suddenly paused, looked at the sky, and said something that pierced straight through every illusion I had about connection. "You don't belong to me. And I don't belong to you. We're just walking the same path for a moment. Isn't that beautiful?" I felt something in me loosen, something I didn't know I was clinging to. In that simple sentence, she revealed what I had spent my whole life misunderstanding. That love, real love, has nothing to do with possession, control, fear, or attachment. It's not about two incomplete people trying to fuse into one. It's about two whole beings choosing to walk together without imprisoning each other. We didn't try to define the relationship. We didn't map out a future. We didn't cling or chase or promise forever. We simply allowed the connection to breathe. And here's the truth. She didn't stay in my life forever. But the awakening she triggered did. Meeting her didn't complete me. It revealed that I was complete already. It changed how I listened, how I loved, how I showed up for myself, how I recognized people who entered my life after her. Every relationship, every connection, every silence since then has been filtered through the clarity she awakened. And maybe you've had a moment like that too, a strange encounter you couldn't explain, a person you met briefly but felt deeply, a silence that spoke louder than words. A feeling of recognition you couldn't rationalize. These are not coincidences. They are crossings. They are reminders. They are spiritual mirrors placed in your path to show you parts of yourself you had forgotten. And now I want to ask you, gently, honestly, have you ever felt something like this? A moment, a person, a signal that touched you deeper than logic could explain? If yes, share your experience in the comments. I read everything personally, and I may bring some of these stories into future videos because what you have lived might help illuminate someone else's path too. And now, there is a second revelation waiting, one even more powerful than recognition. The moment when two awakened souls create a field of energy that transforms not just each other, but everyone around them. There is a second spiritual sign that appears in the presence of awakened connection, one far more powerful and unmistakable than the quiet dissolution of inner need. It doesn't whisper, it doesn't hide. It arrives with a clarity that feels almost supernatural, yet profoundly natural at the same time. The second sign is energetic coherence. This is not chemistry, not attraction, not emotional excitement. It is the moment when your inner state aligns effortlessly in the presence of another person. Your body relaxes, your mind quiets, and your awareness expands without effort. It's the sensation of suddenly breathing in harmony with someone else, even when your breaths are not synchronized. It's the strange feeling that you can sense the other person's emotional landscape as if it were your own. It's the unexplainable calm that settles into your chest, even if your day was chaos just moments before. Ancient traditions knew this phenomenon well. In Sufism, it was described as the shared heartbeat. In Zen, the gap where two minds become no minds. In Hindu philosophy, the meeting of prana between two clear channels. And in indigenous traditions, it was simply called recognizing your kin in the unseen world. But let's bring this out of the esoteric and into real human life, because you've likely felt this before. Have you ever met someone and felt your nervous system soften instantly without reason? Have you ever spoken to someone and sensed that their presence made your thoughts more spacious, more fluid, more grounded? Have you ever felt an unspoken harmony with someone you barely knew? A kind of silent agreement that didn't need words, explanations, or history? That is energetic coherence, and awakened souls feel it with unmistakable clarity. How to recognize this second sign? Here are the markers that distinguish energetic coherence from ordinary connection. Your body speaks before your mind does. Your shoulders drop, your breath deepens. There is no tension in your chest, stomach, or throat. Comfortable silence becomes effortless. You don't feel the need to fill the space. The silence feels alive, full, meaningful. You become more yourself, not less. There is no impulse to shrink, perform, or hide. You feel naturally authentic, as if masks dissolve on their own. Time shifts, moments stretch or compress, but they never feel wasted. It's the sensation of flow, but shared. Your intuition heightens. You can sense what the other person feels without guessing or projecting. It's not mind reading, it's resonance. There is no urgency, no craving, no anxiety. The connection feels rooted, not grasping, expansive, not contracting. Energetic coherence is not fantasy. It is the nervous system recognizing safety, truth, and alignment at a level deeper than thought. The practical technique. The 2 breaths of clarity. Anyone can access this technique, even if you've never meditated or done spiritual practice before. Use it whenever you want to understand the energetic nature of a connection, especially when meeting someone new. Step 1. Pause for 2 breaths. Before reacting, analyzing, or speaking, take exactly 2 deep breaths. Not 1, 2. The first breath brings you back into your body. The second breath reveals what your body already knows. Step 2. Observe your immediate internal shift. Ask yourself silently, did my body relax or tense? Did my mind open or close? Do I feel more present or more scattered? Does this moment expand me or contract me? You're not looking for perfection, you're looking for direction. Step 3. Trust the first sensation, not the second thought. The body senses coherence faster than the mind can rationalize it. The mind will always try to explain, distort, or interpret the experience. The body simply reacts. If your chest softens, there is resonance. If your breath deepens, there is safety. If your awareness widens, there is alignment. Even if the person is a stranger, even if the moment is brief, even if nothing logical suggests connection. Step 4. Return to neutrality. The goal isn't to judge the person. It's to understand yourself in their presence, because energetic coherence is not about the other person being special. It's about your awareness, recognizing someone who reflects your own awakened state. This technique may sound simple, even too simple, but that simplicity is the key. Awakened recognition doesn't happen through effort. It happens through clarity. Why this second sign matters. This sign reveals something profound. Awakened souls bring each other into deeper presence simply by existing. They don't pull energy, they don't drain it, they amplify it. And when 2 people amplify presence in each other, a field of awareness forms between them, a living, breathing space of clarity that others around them can feel without knowing why. This is why some couples radiate peace. This is why some friendships feel sacred without being labeled as spiritual. This is why some connections leave a fragrance in your mind long after the moment has passed. Energetic coherence is not a trick, it's a signal, a doorway. and anyone with awareness can recognize it. If you're finding value in this journey, remember to subscribe and join our community. We explore truths that most people never talk about, and your presence strengthens this circle. But before you go, there is a third sign, far deeper, far rarer, and almost never spoken about. A sign that doesn't just reveal awakened connection, it transforms it into something that changes everyone it touches, and that is about to open. There is a third sign, the rarest, the quietest, the most transformative of all. A sign so profound that ancient mystics wrote about it in symbols, not sentences, because language itself trembles under its weight. It is the moment when two awakened souls do not merely recognize each other, do not merely resonate with each other, but merge into a single field of awareness without losing their individuality. It is the paradox at the heart of all spiritual traditions. Two beings, yet one consciousness. Two perspectives, yet one seeing. Two forms, yet one essence. This is not metaphor. This is not poetry. This is an actual lived experience. And once it happens, nothing in your inner world remains the same. The third sign, the shared field of presence. This sign appears only when two souls have dissolved the illusion of separateness deeply enough that the boundary between me and you becomes permeable, not erased, but transparent. You feel it not as emotion, not as thought, not as intuition, but as a stillness that expands between you, around you, and through you. Imagine two candles beside each other. The flames do not touch. They do not merge physically, yet their light becomes indistinguishable. Two flames, one illumination. When two awakened souls meet, something similar happens. The light of their awareness blends into a single clarity. Christian mystics called this the union of spirits. Sufi poets called it the meeting place, where the soul is neither body nor breath. In the Vedas, it was described as two rivers returning to the same ocean, and modern quantum physics calls it coherence of the observer field, a moment where two conscious systems synchronize beyond physical explanation. But names do not matter. What matters is what you feel. How this moment actually unfolds. It begins with a subtle shift. The air feels thicker, alive. Your senses sharpen, not outwardly, but inwardly. You're not lost in the other person. Rather, you become more awake inside yourself. You feel as if the space itself is listening, as if the atmosphere is aware, attentive, present. Then something even stranger happens. Your emotions no longer feel like yours or theirs. They feel like weather passing through a shared sky. You sense the other person's joy as if it were rising in your own heart. You feel their stillness as if it were your own breath. You sense their thoughts before they articulate them, not by reading their mind, but because both minds are open inside the same field of silence. Words become unnecessary. Understanding becomes effortless. Everything becomes simple, astonishingly simple. This is what people throughout history have mistaken for destiny or soul bonding. But it is not destiny, it is resonance at the deepest possible level. It is what happens when awareness recognizes itself in another form. And here is the part that breaks every illusion society teaches about relationships. In this moment, you do not feel closer to the other person. You feel closer to God, closer to truth, closer to existence itself, because the presence that expands between you is not yours or theirs. It is the presence that has always existed behind both of you. A moment of truth. Let me pause here to tell you something from the heart. If this content is speaking to you, if it's awakening something inside your chest that you can't quite explain, I want to ask you to subscribe and like this video. This channel does not exist for profit. There are no sponsors, no monetized agendas. I create this with passion, with sincerity, with the hope that these messages reach the people who need them most. Every subscription strengthens this community, a circle of souls seeking depth, truth, and awakening together. Now, back to the revelation. The secret behind the third sign. The deepest truth is this: when two awakened souls meet, they do not fall in love. They fall into awareness. And in that awareness, you begin to see reality as it truly is, undivided, interconnected, flowing with meaning in every direction. You realize that the person in front of you is not a partner, a lover, a mirror, or a possibility. They are a doorway into the state of consciousness you have been seeking your entire life. Their presence is not the source of your clarity. It is simply the space in which your own clarity becomes visible. This moment can feel overwhelming, almost frightening, because it dissolves the foundation of your ordinary identity. But it is not dangerous. It is liberation. The aftermath. After such a moment, you cannot go back to ordinary relationships, not because you reject them, but because you have tasted something real, something sacred, something undeniable. You become incapable of settling for connections built on fear, ego, or emptiness. You crave truth. You gravitate toward authenticity. You align naturally with people who live from the same depth. And here is the most mysterious part. The shared field of presence does not fade when the person leaves. It stays inside you. It becomes part of you. Once awareness expands, it does not shrink again. But this third sign, as powerful as it is not the final step in the dance between awakened souls. There is something beyond even this. Something that determines whether the connection becomes a lasting companion on your path or a brief but sacred visitation that shifts your destiny. And that final truth is the most important of all. What we've explored together in this journey is not theory, not fantasy, not an abstract philosophy reserved for mystics in distant mountains. It is the quiet architecture of your own awakening. It is the design your soul has always known, but your mind was never taught to see. Every sign we uncovered, the dissolution of need, the coherence of energy, and the merging into a shared field of presence, is not something that happens only in rare encounters. It is something that life uses to wake you up to yourself, because the truth is simple. Awakened souls do not come into your life to complete you. They come into your life to remind you of who you already are. They arrive like mirrors, reflecting your forgotten depth. They appear as catalysts, pulling truth out of the shadows inside your heart. They walk beside you just long enough for you to recognize that awareness is not something you borrow from someone else. It is something that has been living quietly inside you since the beginning. The signs are not meant to make you chase another person. They are meant to guide you back into your own consciousness. Think about it. The first sign, the dissolving of inner need, appears when you finally step out of the illusion that someone else holds the key to your wholeness. It's the moment you stop searching outward and begin listening inward. The second sign, energetic coherence, shows you what connection feels like when there is no fear, no pretending, no grasping. It reveals how your inner state transforms in the presence of truth. And the third sign, the shared field of presence, reminds you of a spiritual law older than language itself. Separation is the dream. Oneness is the reality. Every time you feel these signs, even if only for a moment, you are being invited to step deeper into awakening. You are being called to see your relationships not as sources of fulfillment, but as pathways to self-discovery. You are being shown that the most sacred encounter you will ever experience is not with another person. It is with your own awareness, awakened and alive. But here is the most beautiful part. When two awakened souls meet, the connection doesn't just touch the two of them. It radiates, it expands, it influences everyone around them. Like a lantern held in the dark, their presence becomes a quiet blessing to the world. People around them feel calmer, clearer, more grounded, without knowing why. This is the real power of awakened connection. It is not dramatic, it is not loud, it is transformative. So if you are watching this right now and something inside you feels like it is rising, a warmth, a recognition, a remembering, then trust that sensation. It is not random, it is not coincidence. It is your soul responding to truth. Every awakened moment begins in silence. Every transformation begins with awareness. Every profound encounter begins with readiness. And you are more ready than you think. Before we close, I want to invite you to become part of something meaningful, our community. A space created not for profit, not for numbers, but for people who feel the quiet pull of awakening in their lives. If this video touched you, if something shifted inside you, if you felt understood, seen, or guided, take a moment now to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this message reach more souls, and it strengthens the bond of this community, this circle of people seeking depth, truth, and inner awakening together. And I want to hear from you personally, truly. Leave a comment below with your name and your city. Tell me where in the world you're watching from. I read every message, and in the next video, I'll be sending a warm greeting to some of you as a way to honor this connection we share here. Your story matters. Your presence matters. Your awakening matters. And as you step back into your life after this video, carry this final truth with you. When two awakened souls meet, it's not fate. It's recognition, and recognition is the beginning of everything.